So we're here live with Ro Sahebi, the director of Dead Bigfoot, A True Story. What's cracking there, Ro?
Hey man, it's happy to be here. Thanks for inviting
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, thanks for being
Hello.
on the show. So let's get right to the point. Do you
Okay.
believe that Bigfoot exists? Are you a believer?
That's a loaded fucking question because
You must
man,
tell us straight away.
have
Yeah.
I had a clear view of something to say definitively that that's what I saw right there is a
Have you shook its
Bigfoot?
paw
Have I shook its paw? I've never done that. Have I
or a
seen
hand?
something weird? I have 100% experienced something very strange that was very hard to explain.
Mm.
So
So
I know that answer's a little ambiguous,
kind of vague,
but
yeah. But I'll take it. I'll take it. So
Okay.
you directed a documentary, Dead Bigfoot, A True Story, and you're also a
Yes.
contestant in a reality show about Bigfoot. So it's safe to assume that you're interested in the topic. So when
Yeah.
did this interest begin? Like, what's the origin?
I was an itty bitty baby, man. I grew up in the 70s, and I'm a King Kong and Godzilla fan, and I've just been a fan of monsters, The Legend of Boggy Creek, all that stuff. I am a sci-fi and monster movie fan, and the fact that like my favorite movie in the world is Jaws. I think that's the greatest
It's
Yeah.
a great
piece
movie.
of cinema ever. People always assume because I host a Star Wars show that my favorite movie of all time is Star Wars. It's probably number two, but Jaws is truly my number one favorite film of all time. And that it's about a fucking scary monster that maybe 100 years ago, if you tried to explain to somebody, hey man, there's this giant fish. I know you're not going to believe me, but it bit my fucking boat in half and killed like 17 people. Everybody would be like, get the fuck out of here, right? But now we know it's a real thing. We've photographed it, we've seen it, we've touched it. So the idea that this other possibility, and it's even more interesting because it's supposedly closely related to what we are and help explain our origin story. So we have this monster in our backyard, this legend right here in California. I'm a Southern California native. Having this monster, our own monster in our backyard, I've been fascinated my whole life.
Well, I
So
mean,
is that why you like Bigfoot over cryptids then? Because there's so
It
many
is,
cryptids you could choose.
yeah, there's so many, right? There are so many cryptids you can choose. I like Bigfoot because of the history, the Native American history associated with it, the anthropological history that could be tied to it, and just the fact that it's humanoid is just cool as fuck.
Mhm.
I think that's
I can
probably.
drop f bombs, right? I'm
Oh
assuming.
yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's a podcast called Sick and Wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's but the fact that it's humanoid is one of the reasons why people are definitely so obsessed with this creature.
Right.
So, to your knowledge, has anyone ever, obtained any irrefutable evidence? I mean, or caught one? Because I've seen
Yeah.
plaster casts of footprints, I've seen hair samples, low res
Mhm.
photos, but nothing that would convince me.
Right. And that's fair. Now, obviously, my movie is about a guy. It's a movie called Dead Bigfoot, and everybody said, "Well, where's the fucking body?" And this is the story. The story. If you haven't seen the movie, it's free on YouTube now. You go and Google it and check it out. But there was some evidence. We didn't get what we wanted out of the evidence. All I got was a story that just, to me, amplified my interest. But is it irrefutable? Have I seen anything irrefutable? Nothing truly irrefutable that I could say this is a Bigfoot. But I've seen enough for myself to go, some weird shit is happening.
So it could be. I mean, the Bigfoot believers think there are like 15,000 Bigfoots living in North America. What blows my
Yeah.
mind is that with all the drones and modern technology that we have, how can these things remain hidden?
Right. Well, and
You know?
that's a huge question. Now, if it's here's the thing. A smart person, if let's say five smart people decided to disappear in the woods and never be found, never be photographed, they could do it. However, five people are not a breeding population that can continue for hundreds and hundreds of years, right?
Yeah.
So it gets confusing. If you think of the idea of a hominid that has gone extinct and is maybe a version of a human being, so if you find remains and stuff, it comes up as mostly human. You're like, oh, these are just human bones or whatever. If you think about it's the tail end of the extinction of a beast then you can start to make some arguments. Well, yes, with all the technology, we should have seen something. But I'd like to make the argument that and I've talked to people, survivalists, who say, well, a true survivalist can avoid detection their entire life if they wanted to disappear into the woods. And, I know it's thin. I know that's thin, but that can play to it.
Yeah, but look at Rambo, John Rambo. You'd never find that guy in the woods.
Unless he wants to be seen.
Yeah, like even in Yellowstone, it's not like they can police every area of Yellowstone, is it? I mean, it's massive. I can see how a Bigfoot could disappear. But why wouldn't they be interested in us? Well, why don't they want to come to society? Like, why do they think we would shoot them? I'm assuming that's what you Americans do.
Well, I think that kind of leads into the next question. Let's talk about Justin Smeha, the protagonist of your documentary.
Yeah.
Who killed a Bigfoot. So how'd you meet this guy? Like, how'd you come across Justin?
Okay, so I had started a website called The Bigfoot Report. It started doing really well. Bigfoot Evidence was the other really big website. And we would trade content, and we became really good friends. And he's like, hey, dude, I got this story. It's on a message board, but I think it's going to be big. You should talk to this guy. So I did the first.
Tipped off.
Justin happened to be in my neighborhood going to visit his uncle or something. He's going to be in your town. Give him a call. Have him swing by your house. And I did my first movie, which was like this little black and white piece that I did where I interviewed Justin, and it was called, I'm blanking out on the name, but it was first part of the
it's in the documentary, yeah. Where you're like sitting in like a kitchen or something.
Yep.
Is it
just get into my kitchen?
Yeah.
Shot it on 2 cameras, and we just talked it through. And I shot it in one night. It took me 3 nights to edit it. I uploaded it, and Joe Rogan started talking about it 2 days later.
As it blew up, yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
So after you met this guy, talking to him in your kitchen, were you convinced? Were you convinced that this guy killed the Bigfoot? I mean, he took a polygraph in the film.
Yeah. That's a real controversial part of the film. He didn't convince me, no, I liked hanging out with the guy, and I didn't think he was full of shit. So I know that sounds conflicting.
Yeah.
He didn't convince me that it was real, but he didn't sound like he was full of shit to me. I was like, you know what, this guy's cool. I like hanging out and having beers with him. He wants to go camping. Let's go fucking camping. I'll go camping any day of the week, anyways.
Yeah, he has convictions, doesn't he? You can tell in the documentary. He believes. He is
right. In hindsight, it's kind of a stupid move to go camping with some dude who loves guns and shooting humanoids, and I don't know him. So in hindsight, maybe it was kind of a stupid move, but we ended up becoming really great friends. And like I said, some weird things happened, probably explainable, totally explainable, if you want to get down to it, but weird nonetheless. And I was like, fuck, there's something to this story. And I just got sucked into it. And a year later, I've got a year's worth of footage, and I'm putting together Dead Bigfoot.
So how many times did you go Bigfoot hunting with him?
It's how I can't lost count, probably 20, 30 times.
And so, I mean, was that a thing that he would do? So he had the incident with his friend. Yeah. He was driving. He saw an adult Bigfoot and a couple of juveniles. And, of course, he pulls out his gun and shoots them, which is what, your first instinct when you see this, miraculous creature. But so he had this incident that happened. And then was he just trying to recapture the moment and relive the moment and just trying to find more evidence of it? Like, did it become an obsession? So,
like I said, I find him very convincing. Whether he's telling the truth or telling a version of the truth, what he's telling you, he without certainty believes, which is really, and he's not a dumb guy. He's not some dumb hillbilly that people want to just say he's not that guy. He's way smarter than you think. Well-read, and articulate. He's a really interesting person. So regardless of that, he took that shot that he says, that first shot where he puts down the adult, he doesn't know if he wounds the adult. He goes after it. The infant, the juvenile appears, and he caps the juvenile. That's the short version of it, right? What's not in the movie that I would later learn as I got to know him, and he kind of, in the later version of it, in the second movie, in Dead Bigfoot, A True Story, you say like, this is murder. He never says it on camera. He never says it on camera, and I guess technically there's no statute of limitation on murder, so I don't know how far we want to get into this. But he's just like, I've just killed a child. I've committed murder. So that has always been the intriguing part. Is like, is this just some like deformed person?
Yeah.
That was living in the woods that he shot?
Like a very hairy person.
I mean, then you see those stories of people covered in hair, like there's
like the hirsute people. Yeah.
Right.
You see what that which is technically a deformity.
Right. And was it just a small group of people that were run out of society back in the 40s or something like that just kind of found their way? There might, again, not a breeding population, but 2 or 3 of these guys out there just kind of lost touch with society. And I don't know, there's all these different explanations.
Well, that was the part that threw me, though. It's like, well, first of all, if I would have seen like a gnome or a hobbit or something, I don't think my first instinct would be like, I got to kill it. It's like, or like an alien. I mean, there are a lot of people that probably would. Shoot first, ask questions later. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that I guess just kind of blew my mind. It's like, all right, so now you killed it. You want to prove to people that you killed the Bigfoot. Why would you take the fucking corpse? He said he buried it.
Exactly. He was paranoid. He went into a state. He committed a crime and went into a state of paranoia. That's how he explains it. I wasn't there. I can't speak for him. But if you're going to get him alone and you're going to get him drunk and you're going to get him to confess, he believes he committed a crime and he went into a state of paranoia.
And just kind of freaked out and was like, I got to conceal the evidence,
What the fuck did I just do? What the fuck? I'm going to get caught, not making any rational sense, bailed out of there.
I mean, like even his own friend was like, I think that's a dude in a suit. So, I mean, there's and it bled on him, it said that that he saw actual blood. So I guess I can kind of understand that. And plus he was worried about getting busted. I mean, cause there's like, DNR and all the Rangers and everything.
Exactly. And that's his whole thing was like, earlier that day, they had seen a ranger down at the bottom of the trail. They had passed a ranger earlier, and that was all he could think about.
Well, okay, chop off a finger, cut off its,
cut off its monkey paw
hand or something.
Good luck.
Now that's we have this fascination with Bigfoot, and we think about Bigfoot, and if we were going after a Bigfoot and had the opportunity to do it, we would most 100% be in the mindset of that. According to Justin, if you want to believe him, he had never had an interest in Bigfoot, never read a Bigfoot story, never looked up Bigfoot, never had a Bigfoot conversation in his entire life. So that was never on his mind. When people ask him that, people have been trying to get Bigfoot evidence for years and years and years. You just let it go. He's like, I'm not that person. I had never thought about it. I'm a hunter. I committed a crime. I buried the evidence and I left.
Yeah.
So, know.
Okay, but then he goes on a TV series called $10 Million Bigfoot Bounty. Mm-hmm. So that seems to be a not hypocritical, but a little kind of a conflict. Look, so is it because
it is?
Is it because he has some fame from from the documentary?
It was a snowball effect, man. We were on the front page of, when it meant something. We were on Huffington Post, AOL's front page, Yahoo's front page with our story and our the first version of the movie because they talked about it on Conan O'Brien. Bobo was on Conan O'Brien, and he had mentioned on Conan O'Brien, and Joe Rogan was talking about it. So we went viral.
It's the spotlight, man. You got to take advantage.
We got hit. And, for me as a media guy, I was like, all right, I'm riding this fucking ticket. And I just convinced him to do all this stuff with me.
You got him to do it. You got him to go on the show.
Yeah. You can call me guilty of that. I was like, I'm a marketer and a media guy and a film director. This is my ticket, and it's led to great things for me since. So
yeah, it's like, why not? So what was the premise for the contest? $10 million Bigfoot bounty.
Find some DNA of a species that doesn't exist yet.
Okay. And you would get 10 million. Like they were actually going to pay you out that.
They would actually pay us. They had the bond certified, and escrow account or something set up. It was all verified because, of course, they're gonna think, yeah, we'll put up $10 million
like Spike
for this
TV. Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was exactly. It was like no one's gonna cash this out. So they, we had to and we knew it was a farce when we got there. We're like, fuck? We're walking through the woods with 7 camera guys and lighting guys behind us pretending to be quiet. Like, dude, we can't even film a fucking squirrel right now. So
where was it? Was it in the Sierras or?
It was great, man. It took me back to what I was trying to do earlier on in my career. We traveled. We did Washington. We did Oregon. We went into Idaho. We came to Northern California. Yeah.
So all the Bigfoot areas. Yeah.
Yeah, we hit them. We hit them traveling with Superman. With Dean Cain.
So Dean Cain was the host. That's kind of amazing. So was he like hands-on? Like, was he out in the woods with you guys, or did he film his shit in front of a green screen?
Was he a believer too?
He's an outdoorsman. Not a believer, but brilliant guy. People don't realize that he is a history major at Harvard, super articulate, and a total survivalist. He's at home in the woods.
I always thought he's a way better Superman than Henry Cavill. But that's just So what was the deal? They're like how many? They're teams, right? So you and Justin were a team. Were there like 8 other teams?
Stacy Brown and his partner were a team. Michael Merchant, who was my former podcasting partner, was one of our competitors. Him and his friend Kat, and then Richter Riolo and our buddy Dax were another team. We knew all these people coming onto the show by the time we had gotten there, and that kind of frustrated the producers because they're supposed to be
you're supposed to be like
there's
at odds with each other.
Yeah, there's only so many Bigfoot podcasters. We're all fucking friends. What do you think?
So what was the deal? Did you have a different contest every episode, like a different like challenge?
So there were various challenges. And we just decided, look, they said this was supposed to be serious, and but it was like within a few hours of being there, we're like, okay, these guys are just going to try and embarrass us. They just want to goof on us.
They want to make fun of you,
and make us look stupid and get their funny clips and whatever. So we just played into it, and we said, Justin and I said, let's just be the villains. Let's just be assholes. And some people played along with us. There was a couple of people who weren't too hot on that because as soon as the cameras were off, we'd crack a beer and be like, did you guys think that was funny? Some people did not think we were very funny, but yeah, it was really ridiculous. The way they sold it to us was way different than the way it ended up.
Yeah, I think what they're just like, we're gonna make fun of the Bigfoot weirdos.
Right.
That makes sense.
I guess I can say it now because Spike TV's out of business. We were never supposed to disclose. They paid us a ridiculous amount of money to get Justin and I on there because he didn't want to do it. So everybody went on there for they don't pay reality TV people shit.
Yeah,
they paid them everybody got like $800 an episode or something. Justin and I got $15,000. So
an episode, $15,000 an episode?
No,
or for the whole thing
for the five weeks that we went out to shoot.
Shit!
Oh, amazing! Good for you.
Yeah, they gave us
$15,000 a piece. Oh wow, man! Yeah. You guys, that's
we were never supposed to reveal that, but. We did with and then right after the episodes air, I released Dead Bigfoot on a streaming platform, on a pay-per-view streaming platform, and we had a really good financial year that year.
Yeah,
so,
I was about to say you must make bank off of that.
That leads me though, because you mentioned it. Why don't people leave out traps for Bigfoot? Because
they've tried, but I mean, how the fuck are you going to catch something that's supposed to be 800? Like an 800-pound gorilla, that's most of the people in the Bigfoot community. There are some exceptions, like our guy Bart Catino, the educated, well-to-do guy, Wally Hersom, who's got a lot of money. Most of these guys are like these weekend warriors that are trying to make a name for themselves. They don't have a whole lot going on in their lives, so you're not exactly seeing these guys. I hate to talk shit like that, and be sound like some kind of elitist. But these guys they just don't have the resources. Most of these groups just don't have the resources to pull stuff like that off.
Well, that was one thing. So I was watching a few just clips of, because I don't even think you can see that show anymore. Maybe it's on Amazon or something.
I tried to find it. I couldn't find it.
I have never seen like the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to see. I was like, oh God, I can't watch this. 10 years later, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna watch it, and I couldn't find it. So
yeah, I was looking for it. You can find clips though of $10 million bounty, but they tried to make this rift between the hunters and the squatchers. So are you would you be a squatcher? But then Justin's a hunter though, right?
Yeah, well, we were counted as squatchers because we were the Bigfoot believers versus the traditional hunters. But it was a joke. There was one one group that was cut off the show fairly early that hated me. They fucking hated. They didn't get the fact that this is TV and I'm just going to be ridiculous on TV. And they took everything very personal. I was like, how are you taking this shit personal, man? This is Bigfoot. Come on.
Was there like an annoying couple that you're just like, I'm going to fuck with these people?
Yeah, that's the people who didn't like me.
That's the one they did.
I won't say who, but if you ever get a chance to watch the show, I don't know if there's any clips that reflect that, but they were off the show, like, I think by the 2nd or 3rd episode. So
people get eliminated. Like if you didn't win the challenge or whatever, you get eliminated.
Yeah.
So how far did you guys make it?
We made it almost all to second to last episode, and then we ended up coming back for the last episode anyway. So, we were, like I said, we were the villains. So,
so who won the 10 million? Did someone get it?
Nobody won the 10 million.
Not surprised.
They didn't find the DNA, did they? Yeah. Otherwise, Bigfoot.
So, but Stacy Brown and his partner won a $50,000 prize for finishing first.
Oh shit,
that's good.
Yeah.
So,
after taxes and splitting it with your partner and paying taxes, it didn't come
like
out to
$5,000,
much,
but yeah.
So I think Justin and I still did pretty well on that.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So what happened to Justin? Are you still in contact with him? Still hunting Bigfoot?
I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but last time I saw him, he was doing great. He has a new business that's doing really well. He's got in shape. He was all starting to get jacked and thin. So he was doing really well the last time I saw him. I was really happy for him.
Oh, shit. So real quick, before we're chatting for a while here, but I read that you also went Bigfoot hunting with Bret Michaels in an RV. You got to tell me about that.
What?
Yeah, no, seriously.
You have to tell about this.
He did a show called Rock My RV. Where this happen? How'd this happen?
Here in LA is where they do all the shows, right? So you need an expert. So I ended up becoming like the go-to expert for like Discovery Channel or Nat Geo or whoever was doing, hey, we need a Bigfoot expert to come on and say a few things. Like, okay, I'll come on and do it. So I get a call from VH1. I had been on a VH1 show before that didn't get picked up, but so they called me up. They're like, hey, we're doing this thing with Bret Michaels. You want to come on? We heard you got this documentary and blah blah blah. So anyways, I came on to be a consultant as Bret Michaels tried to build the ultimate Bigfoot RV. So, it was pretty fun. So he's like, I got this RV, we painted it camouflage. What am I missing to be a Bigfoot hunter? And it was just silly fun. He's actually a sweet man.
As I say, is he a believer? Does he believe in the Bigfoot?
Yes.
He's
yeah.
dating a few.
He loves all the paranormal.
Hey!
Yeah. A lot of the rock and roll guys, like Nikki Sixx from Motley Crue, he's all in. Bret Michaels is all in. I hear that Megan Fox is all in too and wanted to go Bigfoot hunting. I don't know. There's a few of them out there.
Wow. Yeah, not surprised. All right. Well, tell me, Bret Michaels, is he wearing a wig or is that real hair?
He's wearing a bandana. Okay, let's leave it at that. He's a super nice guy.
That's a mystery.
You will not see him without that bandana.
I'm not a huge fan of his music, but he seems like it. In the interviews I've seen, he seems like a cool guy. So, Ro, what are you up to these days? I see that you had your URL is neftvodkaus.com. What's that all about?
Yeah. Well, like I said, man, I've been doing. It really kind of kicked off my career. This Bigfoot thing kind of kicked off my career as a content marketing and viral video specialist. I ended up partnering with a lot of people and helping a lot of companies with their social media when social media was in its infancy, and helping with YouTube for some large companies. And I got hired as a consultant. Eventually it rolled into what became Neft Vodka. And I'm one of the owners of Neft Vodka. We're in Austria. We import the product from Austria. It's the highest quality vodka you can drink. It's made from, the key ingredient in vodka is water, and we have the best water source, the Austrian Alps, where we distill our vodka, and we use all non-GMO grains for the distilling process, and it's just a fine product. We serve it in a barrel that stays, it's instead of glass, it stays cold longer than glass, and yeah, that's what I'm doing now. I'm one of the owners of Neft Vodka, and I'm really proud of it, and it's going global this year. Look out.
Oh, wow, check it out, people. Neft, N-E-F-T, vodkaus.com.
N-E-F-T, neftvodka.com, neftvodkaus.com.
I have to check that out. Ro, thanks for being on the show. And people, you can check out Dead Bigfoot, a true story. It's on YouTube. Just do a search for it. You can watch it.
Exactly.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for having me.